Well, hello, students. For this week, we are looking at organizational culture. Last week, we kind of focused on organizational design. Now, the way an organization designs its departments, its way of communicating, have everything to do with the culture. So, the first thing we kind of want to do is determine what exactly organizational culture is. And where diversity is such a big topic these days, which it should be, we want to talk about multicultural organizations. Excuse me. And we want to talk about what happens when we need organizational change. So, the objectives of this chapter essentially are to define exactly what organizational culture is and go into the importance of having a strong culture. We're going to also look at the process of socialism. I'm sorry, I meant socialization. Difference between the two. And we want to distinguish between observable cultures and core cultures. What is the company made up of? How does it function? And we're going to talk about value-based management. Value-based management has to do with how efficient we are and how effective we are as an organization to bring our internal SWOT together so that we can meet the needs of our external SWOT. And we're even going to talk a little bit about workplace spirituality. That's really important. We're going to look at organizational cultures and organizational subcultures. We're going to be looking at what we refer to as glass ceilings in organizations and employment problems that are faced by minorities and women. We're going to look at Thomas's concept of managing diversity. And we're going to look at what a change leader is and what a change agent is. Now, we talked about communication being top down, bottom up, and laterally. We're going to look at in this chapter, the pros and cons between top down change and bottom up change. When we have organizational change from the top, they plan to run their organization a little bit differently on the strategic end. How does it affect everyone else? How do they respond to it? And we mentioned in class what happens when people have to come out of their comfort zones. So we're going to look at reactive change and proactive change. In other words, planned and unplanned change. We're going to differentiate incremental and transformational change. And we're going to talk about Lewin's 3 phases of planned change. And that's going to involve freezing, unfreezing, and refreezing again. We're going to look at the pros and cons of forced coercion, rational persuasion, and shared power. And all of these have to do with change strategies. And we already talked about this. We'll go a little bit deeper into why people resist change. And what are some of the strategies in dealing with change and resistance to it. So the thing is, this chapter is all about culture. It's a really important chapter. So you should read through it carefully. And that's going to be in the reading, listening, and viewing, where I am going to post the takeaway questions for next week. There will be 3. On Monday, we're going to talk about really get down to what organizational culture is. On Wednesday, we're going to talk about multicultural organizations and what about when we need change in organizations. How does it affect employees and how do the leaders deliver it when it's needed? So on Friday, all right, this is what you're going to do. You're going to start again let's talk about the Dunkin' Donuts case study. In your learning activities, okay, one of the things that you need to do is, and I'll post this in learning activities, on Friday, you're going to have a workshop in your teams. Now, although you don't have a live formal class, you do have to get together in your team and take attendance for that team. I want to know what everyone is doing. So what you should do when you get together is go over your questions for the Dunkin' Donuts case. Now, as I had explained to you, each individual does 2 slides and their contribution toward their question in the case. I want to know what each individual's contribution is using that team template. Use the same template for your case studies as you do for your proposal. All right? So print the template out, bring it with you when you get together as a group, and go over the Dunkin' Donuts. I want hard copy passed in on the 25th, I believe, when you're presenting your particular slides as a team. So basically, each team is going to produce 6 PowerPoint slides. Okay? I'm sorry. If there are 6 people on the team, times 2, that's 12 PowerPoint slides. I don't want the slides very busy. I essentially want maybe 3 or 4 bullet points and you talk to them. Those bullet points. That tells me you were together as a team. You got to practice that. So I would say when you get together on Friday in your workshop, I want you to be able to go over the Dunkin' Donuts case. Now, what does that mean? That means that everyone needs to review the case. You got to read it before you guys get together on Friday. It's not terribly long. I believe it's like 2 pages, maybe 541 and 542. I think that's where the case is. And all the questions are there, but you have one of those questions. And that's what you need to break down as a team. Okay? Now, you should also, when you get a chance to get together physically in a workshop, you should also get together, and I want you to discuss the next thing, which is going to be a proposal. You're going to discuss that proposal and on your individual contributions and put down some of the sources you're going to be using for editing. Remember, that proposal, I gave you specific instructions on how to do it, is going to include your template with everyone's individual contribution on the proposal for that company you're doing. Then on a separate sheet of paper, okay, this is the one you're going to upload. I'm reiterating it again. The title of your paper, the team, the hypotheses, the individual contributions are going to be on the template, and then some suggested references. That's what you're actually uploading. But the hard copy and the attachment you're going to upload should be passed in to me when the proposal is due. That's passed into me physically. Okay? So I think we're all right with that. And that is due, as you know, I believe, I have to check it, but it's probably due on the 28th, or maybe due on the 25th. I just gotta double check it, but it's in your links to the left of this announcement page. Got a lot of dates in my head. So again, your due date upload for the case study is due on the 18th. And that would be for your slides. 2 each times the number of members. And then you hold that contribution proposal until we present it on the 25th. So each team has a chance, on the 28th. Each team has a chance to critique because you all have 3 attempts. So that's about it. I think we're good for now. If you have any questions, you can certainly bring them to me on Monday, and we'll go from there. So again, reiterating, case study, Dunkin' Donuts, read it before you get together. You're getting together on Friday, all right? And as you know, I believe Friday is the, get my calendar here. Friday is going to be the 15th. So when you guys get together, you should have an opportunity to put all your slides together after you've read the Dunkin' Donut case, and they have to be uploaded by the 18th. Again, not very busy slides. 2 or 3 or 4 bullet points at the most on each slide, 2 from each person. Have your hard copy ready. Then between the 18th and the 25th, if you want to critique a little bit, you could do that, and then I get the final attempt. Also discuss your proposal. Your proposal also has a due date. So you want to make sure that's done. Again, on that proposal, it's a piece of cake, really. All you need to do is fill out your template. You've already done a good part of it in your workshops, and then you bring it to class on the due date. You upload, not the template, you upload the piece of paper with all the information on your team that I just outlined. Then you get a grade. And that's it. So right between those 2 things is 20% of your grade already. All right? So that's about it. You know what chapter we're going to cover. And by the way, I'm sending this webcam video to both my sections, so they're identical. That's my 10:30 and my 11:30 classes. See you next Monday.